Hello everyone. Before I put these drawings away, I thought I'd just look over them and try to remember what the heck I was doing. I did these drawings yesterday at the Boston Urban Sketchers meetup, which was at a coffee shop. And my original thought was I'm going to draw people at the coffee shop, figuring that we weren't going to have some grand staircase, marble staircase with lions on either side of it like you do at the Boston Public Library, or some great architectural construction like the Zakim Bridge. It was going to be very low-key by comparison. And I thought I would draw people because I don't do that very often. And I thought, well, here's an opportunity. But I've discovered that people move too much for me. So I ended up drawing, for the most part, I ended up drawing the scenery. Now, why I'm showing you this is that I'm in this restaurant. I've never been here before. And it was interestingly put together. And initially I didn't like it. And then I realized it reminded me of my own house. So I started thinking, well, if I don't like this, why do I like my house? And I ended up, by drawing the place, I ended up sort of liking it in a weird way. What they did was they lined up a bunch of pieces of furniture that normally would exist all by themselves, and there would be a hutch with shelving and glassware in it if it existed in your house, and then on either side of it it might have an occasional chair and a picture on the wall or something. But they had one lined up here and one lined up there and one lined up here, and none of them matched. So it looked sort of hodgepodgey, not unlike what this ends up looking like, where I've got one filing cabinet next to another, one shelf on top of another. So I started thinking, well, that's kind of neat. So I started drawing the architectural elements of this place rather than the people, which is what I wanted to draw. My initial drawings were in pen and ink. And here was an example of sort of what I liked about what I saw. There was a hutch here, corner of a hutch here, and then another hutch here. And in between these two pieces of furniture was a supporting beam on the wall and a beam across the ceiling. And then this ceiling had molding and a tin ceiling up here, but the wall had a cornice with molding, and here was a samovar, and here was a modern lamp hanging down. And I broke up the area with these geometric shapes. And I can always find that interesting in any location I'm in. Here's that same area, or slightly moved over to the side. Here's the samovars here and here. So my eyes went this way, and I zoomed my eyes out a little bit and saw there were two glass-covered platters with banana bread and other stuff like that in them. There's liquor back here and bottles of stuff, and these were refrigerated cases. So anyway, and what the heck was this? Okay, here's again looking again this way. My eye is moving toward the left. Here's that refrigerated case. This has glassware in it. There were two shelving units shoved up against the wall. There was a table lamp on the floor. This was a closet that went, well, it looked like a closet from here, but it was the hallway that you would go downstairs, which was below where I was. So it was sort of this hodgepodge of furniture, I guess. It wasn't arranged in a way that was overly beautiful. In fact, it was quite clumsy, like my house is, except in its chaos, there were areas that were sort of interesting for me to focus on. Here was another thing. I really like this kind of a drawing. Now, of course, you have no idea what it is, but it's this beam that's separating two rooms. They probably were two, in fact, rooms that had been opened up at some point. And this room was a decorated cornice on a wall with a tin ceiling. Here's the wall. This one had a different pattern ceiling, and this was a water pipe, a hookah on top of a shelf. So here's the hookah on top of a shelf. Anyway, so I by the time I was done with these drawings, I was sort of in my stride, and I was drawing sort of the architecture of the thing. And I moved over to colored pencil, and I brought a bunch of colors with me, and I thought, well, I'm going to try doing a two-color drawing. And this is what came of it. I'm not happy with it necessarily. I'm not unhappy with it. It just turned differently than I maybe thought it would. There's a couple of people I've been following on Instagram who use 2 or 3 different color pencils to draw the human figure. And sometimes they draw the hair and the beard with blue and the face and the skin with red, and it works well, I think. Here there were more colors involved. There was a red wall, green floor, brown wood, the yellow pillow. I had to sort of decide which color was going to be represented by the only 2 colors I was using. Now, I could have used 3 or 4 different colors, but I wanted to have it be a 2-tone drawing, 3-tone if you count the white of the paper. So this was the only one I did. I figured I don't know how to draw this way yet, so I went back to just drawing in regular one color monochrome. So let's see if I can do these in the order in which I show them in the order in which I drew them. So here's essentially the same drawing in pencil that I drew in ink. The cornice of the wall, the hookah, the other wall, this line in between, and I kind of like that. I like drawing 2 buildings together that are just sandwiched. I mean, they're next to each other, but this one was done by one architect and this was done by another, and sometimes the floors are off. It's like the San Andreas Fault in between the two, and that's sort of what I was trying to catch here, with the 2 sides divided by the fault line. Here was walking into that closet area looking down. Here are some of my fellow sketchers, 3 of my fellow urban sketchers drawing what they see in that direction. This was the least effective drawing of the ones I did. Here was, again, these planes of rectilinearness, which wasn't very interesting. This, a lot of people like this drawing the most, and it's this glass, cut glass lamp base that was on the floor. next to its ooh la la-ness was a backpack, sort of purse thing, and there's a pillow with a tassel. And again, this piece of art, if we can even call it that, is not meant to be profound. It's not meant to do anything other than sort of delight the eye with the mark making, I guess, that I did. I had as much fun with my hand drawing this as your eyeball is having in looking at it. Maybe your eyeball isn't having any fun, but you go from dark to light, the curly lines to cross-hatchy lines to solid areas to white areas that are sort of chaotic. And your eye can spend at least 30 seconds looking at it. And if eyes could smile, they would smile, I would think. This one, no, they wouldn't be smiling. There wasn't enough there to make your eyes smile, I don't think. This one, maybe so. Then I thought, well, let me try to draw these people. So here are a table full of sketchers, 1, 2, 3, and there was another sketcher over here. There was some guy in his computer over there. This guy was looking out of the window. That guy, no. Yes, this guy was, I don't know, I don't remember now. These were buildings outside. So, anyway, we had two sketchers here that were sitting across from each other, one over here in the corner. And what attracted me to this composition was initially all of the feet of the table and the chairs, and the light was coming through the bottom, and it was this forest of vertical lines and horizontal lines, some horizontal lines in the chairs under the table. And I sort of liked that, but I started the drawing and ran out of room. It happens all the time. So I ended up not drawing that, but drawing the people, trying to draw the people instead. And I'm not unhappy with this drawing. It's fine. I looked the other way and started drawing this chandelier and the cornice on the ceiling here and the walls. And here were other sketchers looking the other way, plant in the window. This didn't work either. This one, these were 3 of the 4 or 5 pastry platters with the glass domes, and there was someone buying a muffin or something here, and there was the 2 workers behind the thing. But here it was this sort of, I was dividing this page up into shapes of rectangles, and then the complexity of what was going on here. This might have been the focus. I don't even remember what I was looking at, but anyway, that's how it worked. I later stood up and walked over here by this thing and looked this way toward the window across the top of these 4 covered platters, and tried to show the complexity of, not the complexity, the transparency of the plastic domes and what was inside of them. That's a muffin. Those are little blueberries and different things in all of these. And then in the background, the adding machine, the outlet, the other stuff. So it just became this, can I say, clusterfuck of mark making. And if you look really hard, if I didn't tell you what this is, maybe you might understand what it is after about 25 guesses, or never. More likely, you'd never know what this was, but it was something. There was enough here for me to spend 10 minutes drawing this, and I sort of had fun trying to convey what it was that I was looking at. Again, it's not profound. None of the work I do is very profound. I then did this drawing. I looked back at the other table, and someone else had joined that group. This was another urban sketcher with a stocking cap. And what initially attracted me to this was her overcoat was draped, across the back of the chair, and all of the drapery and angles of all of the coats and the legs of the people, down here with the three sketchers, and then the people in the background. The guy's still there at his computer, and the other guy is still looking out the window. And so that's how I drew that. The last drawing I did was it was a selfie. So here's the view of that refrigerated case. There was another urban sketcher talking to another urban sketcher here. A staff member was back here. And the window behind me was reflected in this on the plane of the refrigerated case. So that's me. Who is that handsome man in the corner out of focus? Well, that was me. And so that's what I did. And again, my initial plan was to draw people, and I thought I could do dozens of little thumbnail sketches of people, but they just didn't inspire me. I wasn't inspired by that, and I don't know if I was inspired really by anything that I was drawing. I know there are things that I go back to, this sort of plate tectonics, fault line stuff, organizing chaos into these planes on rectangles, shadows and stuff. But often when I'm in a particular location drawing something, I tend not to draw the thing. Let's say I was in front of a train, an actual train, not a toy. Some people might think this is the thing that's important. And it is. It's pretty important, these big trains. And they would draw the train. But for me, I might draw this much of the train right there, where the pistons and the cross beams and the connecting rods are, and some rivets and some steam coming out. I might draw that little tiny corner, because that's more interesting to me than the entire thing. Or I might draw this thing and the shadow that it casts, and the girders of the train shed behind, or something, or the way the light is hitting the cylinder. That might be the thing that pulls me into the drawing. When I'm in a place that has, yes, I could have drawn the samovars, I could have drawn the hookahs, I did draw the lamp base with all of its cut glass and bronze brass fittings and stuff. But this by itself would have been boring. I had to draw this backpack here and this tassel on the pillow. I try to, when I'm drawing things, I try to combine the elements that I see in front of me to make an interesting drawing. I rarely draw the thing that's in front of me. I draw the things that are in front of me, or part of a thing that's in front of me. Rarely do I draw the thing. I have to do that for work. I have to draw a house to be engraved this big on a piece of paper. And I have to draw the thing. When I suggest, can I add the trees on either side of the house because they're really quite beautiful? No, we just want the house. And sometimes they say they want the tree, and I say, fine, good, I'll put the tree in. And then I draw the tree, and I draw the shadow that the tree casts on the side of the house. Oh, what's that dark thing on the side of the house? Well, that's the shadow of the tree. That makes the tree fit. It makes the drawing interesting. It makes the house look dimensional. Oh, can you take the shadow out? Like, this is what my heart does. My heart goes, it just dies when I hear that, and I hear that a lot. Can you remove this? Can you add that? Can you take this out? And what it does is it takes the stuff that the other parts of the drawing need to make the other part of the drawing interesting. If this weren't here, if this chaos wasn't here, this wouldn't look as organized. You need this to make this look good, I think, in my humble opinion. You need this area of relative nothingness to counterbalance this complexity over here, maybe. This is what when I look at something, this is what my brain is processing. What was needed here, I have no idea. Sometimes I draw and I don't think, and I don't think about all of this stuff when I'm drawing. That's why I'm looking at these again. I drew these yesterday, and they might have made sense yesterday. Do they make sense now? I don't know. I don't really care whether they make sense, but I like to look at them so that I can learn when the pencil is not in my hand. I can learn from looking at what the pencil did. And I'll say, oh, okay, I understand why this works. I didn't understand when I was doing it, but now I understand. Oftentimes when I'm making these videos for you, and you, and you, and you, and you, I'm actually making them for me. I'm looking at them by putting what my hand did through my brain and coming out of my mouth with words. I'm able to understand what I'm doing, what I did with my hand here. So that's why I'm doing it. And maybe it's kind of like keeping a diary. You know, the last thing you want to do is relive the traumatic argument you had with your wife or your whatever it is you write in diaries. I have no idea. But by writing them down, when you're removed from the actual argument you had and you're writing down what happened, you're able to understand it better. And, you know, the thing that you thought was so important at the time, when you're writing it down, you think, oh my God, could my life be any duller? So by looking at these things and talking about them to you and you and you, I'm talking to myself, and I'm understanding why they might have worked better or less good when in retrospect. So I recommend it to everyone. Put videos up about the art that you do and describe what you learned looking at them the second time, or what you didn't learn. I guess you can't say what you didn't learn. because by saying that you clearly learned something. But anyway, thank you for watching.